Well, joining me is Sam Lowe from Friends of the Earth on the Isle of Man today for quite a lot of meetings. I know you've got a lot of things to say.
Yes.
And what message is that you'll be getting out?
Oh, so I've been invited here to the Isle of Man by our Friends of the Earth Isle of Man, who are one of our groups, and they've invited me to talk about the EU-US trade agreement, or as it's known in the sort of geeky world, policy world, as TTIP, the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership.
Okay.
And it's quite a sort of boring sounding acronym heavy name for something that actually will affect everyone, including people here on the Isle of Man, because even though you're not part of the EU, the UK actually is still responsible for negotiating your international agreements.
We do feel very insular here on these sort of things, of course.
Yes.
So why is it going to affect us, or maybe affect us?
Well, so it'll affect you because the UK still negotiate these treaties for you, so you won't be excluded from it. Unless unless you put a lot of pressure to be excluded. And the reason why you should care is it's a big trade agreement between the US and EU, but it's not focusing so much on the normal things we associate with trade, which is tariffs, which are arbitrary taxes on imported goods to protect local businesses. Instead, because those are all already very low between the EU and US. Instead, it's focusing on aligning regulation, which from an environmental perspective instantly brings up sort of red lights, because the main thing that often goes then is protections. So regulation gets lowered, or in an attempt to harmonise, they have to either raise it on one side or lower it on the other.
Okay, the person watching this, how will it affect them? What will they pay more for?
Okay.
Food, is it?
So it's not necessarily that they'll pay more for food. The issue would be that the quality of their food could go down, because in terms of imported food from the US, the way they approach preparing food is a lot different. For example, their meat is washed in acid at the end of just after it's killed, rather than being treated well throughout. Its beef is pumped full of hormones, growth hormones and antibiotics. There's other issues to do with chemical safety, in their products. So, for example, in cosmetics, they ban 1,000. In the EU, we ban 1,300 chemicals from use in cosmetics. In the US, they ban 13. And the idea is not saying that all of a sudden all of these things will be made legal and be allowed to be imported, but that's the direction.
Okay. So you're going to have a public meeting about this tonight?
Yeah, Keeldarry at Nobles Hospital at 7 p.m. Yes.
Okay, so people can find out more
and there's a lot more about it as well. So that's just one issue I just hit on. So there's other things that we want to import more oil and gas from the US. There's increased investor protection, which allows companies to sue governments for public policy decisions. One example of that would be that Australia, under a similar agreement, is currently getting sued for bringing in plain packaged cigarettes by Philip Morris, the tobacco company.
Okay,
there's a lot to talk about.
And quite an active scene over here, Friends of the Earth in the Isle of Man. Have you found that?
So I arrived yesterday evening, and that's been active so far.
Okay.
But so our Isle of Man group here, I know, do a lot of work. They're doing a project at the moment called EcoVan. I think they're just starting up with the government.
I think we're going to hear about it more in another interview.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh well, wish you well tonight, and hope you get lots of people to that one.